What song can I sing to a cedar who seems to have everything with roots in a place that...
I heard some Flynn Christopherson and Medium Build. Want to shout out Melanie and Marcus Beckman on that Sunny Porch Collaborative song. That was really great to hear. Yeah, and let's move forward onto the agenda for this. We were planning to have an opening prayer with New Talk, but she had something come up super last minute and is unfortunately not able to make it. So if there is an elder in here that would love to do that, let me know. If anyone else wants to come and do some opening prayer, that'd be great, just to open this in a good way. If not, totally cool, we'll keep moving. And that's just how life happens. We'll move on and hear from Louise Brady and some of the amazing work Herring Protectors have been doing. There's a film that we have from the 2020 Just Transition Summit that Maya Salganek put together, and we'll hear from her and watch that, which is really exciting. And then we have Carlin Itchoak and Eva Burke, who will be doing some reflections from the 2020 Summit, things that that they loved about the last one, things they're looking forward to, and things they've been doing since then. So that's going to be really great to hear from them. And we have those breakout rooms I mentioned, just a space for people to talk to each other about the last summit, about things they're wanting to see in the 2022 summit, a place that we can get feedback as we plan, but also a space that community can get together and say hello to people that may be familiar faces, and talk about what amazing work people have been doing and all the movement building that's been happening over the past 2 years since everyone's had a chance to meet. And then we will close. So that is our agenda for the evening. I want to thank our partners that we have here that make up the Just Transition community. The organizations that make up that are Native Movement, Fairbanks Climate Action Coalition, the Alaska Center, Alaska Public Interest Research Group, Native Peoples Action, Alaska Community Action on Toxics, Alaska Poor People's Campaign. If I missed anyone, identify, let me know. And most importantly, thanks to the community that makes up the Just Transition community. That's all of you, that's all of our amazing partners across the state that do all of this work. And are just forever inspiring. And I want to take a moment and do a land acknowledgement. And I'll do this for the land that I'm currently on. I see a lot of people putting their land in the chat. I constantly am thinking in land acknowledgements, and want to spend a moment talking about the history of stewardship of the lands I'm on. Ketchikan resides on the ancestral lands of the Tontaquan Tlingit people, who have stewarded this land since time immemorial. Ketchikan's era of colonization started with white settlers, with fishing and salmon canneries, and people who saw this land as a spot to head up north for the gold rush, as a good first stop for steamboats. And with settlers and colonization comes social issues, and Ketchikan ended up being a segregated community for a long time. Our indigenous people, along with Chinese, Filipino, and Japanese communities that were in Ketchikan, were segregated out of the town, and that formed what was known as Indian Town in Ketchikan. And that's historic Indian Town is where I'm zooming from right now. And that's where I grew up, and my dad grew up, and my grandmother and my dad's grandmother, all in what was historically Indian Town. And just 2 houses down from me is where our segregated, until the 20s, segregated high school for Native kids would go. And I just mention all of that because Indian Town is obviously not a thing anymore with Ketchikan, but it was impactful, and the places and businesses in this area, often a lot of them are still owned by families that have been living here for that long time. Tatsuda's is one of our grocery stores that sadly was blown down in a landslide a few years ago, but was owned by the Tatsuda family, a really influential family in Ketchikan. I mention all this because, like I said, I'm always thinking in land acknowledgements, and I'm just so eternally grateful for the people who've been stewarding these lands forever and did so in the face of discrimination and this segregation. And I want to continue to be able to do that myself as I live on in future generations as well. So I invite you to learn a bit about history of stewardship on your lands, as I've done, and it's just powerful to keep that history alive. And I do that through a land acknowledgement. So thank you for that. I would move on to our opening prayer, but Nuatak sadly is not with us tonight. She had emergency go up, so I'll give a second if anyone feels comfortable opening that up. I'd give space for that. I'd like to open this in a good way, but if not, I may move on forward with this, which I think I will do. So we will move on to Luis Brady. I want to go to the next slide, maybe. Oh. Well, I'll introduce Luis as that's working on just in a few sentences, and I'll let her take the proverbial mic. Luis is Kiksadi from the Shikakwan and Sitka. She's been working with grassroots groups for years, centering on herring, and that's what she'll be sharing with us today. So I want to thank Luis for spending time with us, and I will, pass that mic onward.
Goodness, cheese for that introduction, and goodness, cheese to everyone for being here this evening. Kashislayo Hagdosak Kiksadi Ayahat Kahet Nakatsati Kagwantan Shkan Ayahat Kakachashana Hatsati. So my Tlingit name is Gashitla, and I am Kiksadi, which is Raven Frog from the Point House. And I am the grandchild of the Wolf House, also here in Shitka, or what's now called Sitka. And we Kiksadi women are known as the herring ladies. And I have to say, it's been really nice for me because I'm on Facebook, I'm on social media. And so I have had some memories showing up from the Just Transitions. And I had really no idea what was going to happen and what Just Transitions was about. I know I stepped off the plane in 40 below weather and was greeted by, I can't remember her name, and she was so wonderful. And she took one look at me and she said, "Is that the only coat you have?" And it was my warmest coat that I had for a Southeasterner, because we've had it pretty tough down here. When it gets anywhere below 30, we are cold. But it turned out to be, I would say, probably the most inspiring gathering that I've attended. And just I see that Chandler O'Connell is here and Margaret is here. And I just love that connection. Chandler O'Connell from Sitka, she's also a part of the Herring Protectors, had her baby at the time. And Margaret and Theo had an immediate connection. And it was really striking to me that children were so welcomed and loved, and elders were so welcomed and loved. And there was this feeling of, I think it was hope. And Mind you, this was just before the pandemic started. I was just getting going. And I think to a great extent, we herring protectors were not really quite sure where we were going either. But we did manage to, I think, get a lot done and continue to work together. And I think looking at the last couple of years and looking at the film you're about to see, not knowing what to expect with the pandemic and myself being high risk and trying to navigate what it means to be alive during a pandemic, and also what was going on with the what had gone on with the previous administration. There just was so much upheaval. And for me, Just Transitions was like a breath of fresh air. And, as we have worked our way through the pandemic, we as the herring protectors, and there's also a few other folks online right now that are currently actually getting ready for our Ku'ik on April 16th. We were really concerned about the safety of the community, but I think more so, I think part of that safety that we forget about is how we care for each other as a community and being a part of the Native community. We are charged with making sure our elders are taken care of, and we are charged with a number of things. And so in making the decision in 2020 in April as to whether or not we were going to go forward with the Ku'ik, we decided to go forward with a celebration because we thought we would have to have it outside. And we're really fortunate to have more people coming in and getting involved. And we had gatherings to make the gifts to give to people who came to the celebration. And I'm really looking forward. We're doing this now. So I think, I hope that people are talking with each other and being open about the challenges of who we are today as a country and as communities. And I think as grassroots movements, I think it was because of Just Transitions, I'm now connected with Native Movement and have participated in some of their doings. And it just seems to be coming up over and over and over again as that we cannot do this work unless we're taking care of ourselves. We cannot do this work unless we understand that there is a lot of healing to be done. And I really believe that with our gatherings here in Chitka, that coming together of people who normally don't come together has been incredibly healing. And one of the ways that I'm seeing that is I was reading some of the comments. If you're not familiar with the Board of Fish, it's a highly political process, and the herring have been a part of that. And to see all of the comments from people from all different walks of life talking about Native sovereignty and Native health, it was really, really uplifting. So there are things that we can do. And, for people who are struggling, I hope that you're reaching out. And I hope that if, the first person that you're calling doesn't answer, try another person. Because what I have seen throughout the years is people are hungry for community. And I think in so many ways, we have forgotten what community is. And I hope you'll see in this short film, I think it's just about 4 minutes. Like I said, so there were many elders there, and it was, I don't know, Chandler and maybe Jackson. I want to say that it was like 25 degrees with the wind chill factor. And you know what? People showed up. And, you know, you'll see the hearing eggs, you'll see the elders. The elders are sitting in the chairs, and we all just went to our cars and got blankets and winter coats so they could stay. And the elders stayed till the very end. And we didn't do the full-on ceremony, but we were outside for probably Chandler or Jackson, I don't even know, probably a good 3 hours. And if for the people who got ready, what helps it set things up, we're probably out there longer. So it's really important during those times that we reach out and we understand what our responsibilities, we understand what community is and the responsibilities that come with being a part of a community. And I really want to thank Just Transitions for this opportunity. I think it's just what we need is to be able to come together and support each other, because it seems like we're always experiencing, especially with the last few years, things that we haven't experienced before. And there's no right or wrong way to get through it except for with each other. So Ganesh Cheese for being here, and so good to see Miss Eva. I saw Eva is online here, and some other folks that I remember meeting at Just Transitions. So I hope we can do this again soon. Just Transitions statewide. It was amazing. Ganesh Cheese.
This is a time of celebration, and let the herring know how grateful we are that they are here and make Sitka such an amazing, amazing place to live.
And we're blessed with another day of good weather.
For those people who may not know, the original Herring Rock was out here. We're about as close as you can get to that story that is part of the Etu of the Kix Eddy that really demonstrates our connection to the herring.
Kixedi women are known as the herring ladies. Tlingit people, we come together and celebrate our relationships with each other, but also our relationship with the herring, with the spirit of all of the beings that live in the ocean, all of the beings that live on the land.
When I was a kid, out here in Sitka Sound, up by the Scary Rock, there were huge, and I mean huge, herring. They used to boil up out of the water. Now you don't see that out there anymore. Our people subsisted off of it hundreds of years before the first non-native people came into water. And they were still doing it today.
there are so many things that have come out of the group. Those robes are now actually on exhibit in Ketchikan, and will be also join a traveling exhibit later this year, and will be shown all over the country in different museums, along with the 20-minute film. We finished a 20-minute film too that we've taken to several, that has won some awards. It was in Anchorage, the Anchorage International Film Festival, and actually the Indigenous Film Festival. And just we're continuing to spread the word. And for folks who are interested, we are planning a ku'ik. I know Chandler is on. We've been discussing whether we should do April 16th or April 30th or May 21st. But stay tuned, because it's just a really beautiful time, and especially you can get herring eggs when you come to Sitka. Ganashish.
Ganashish, herring eggs. That's one of my favorite events. Good time to see everybody when those are distributed and everyone's out. I love it. Yeah, I'm fortunate. I got to see all those blankets here in Ketchikan, in our Arts Council, or at the Arts Council here. So yeah, really amazing, beautiful, beautiful work. Wow, yeah, thank you so much. We're gonna transition over now to this film from the 2020 Just Transition Summit, of the 2020 Just Transition Summit. And I'm going to invite Maya Salganek to speak about that. You're here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Yak'ik Wasatini. It's so good to see everybody here tonight. Thank you so much, Kashitla. That was a beautiful film and so inspiring. I'm calling in from the lands of the Ogapuake, which are the lands of the Tewa and Tanos people in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's an inspiring thing to have been asked to work on this project with Native Movement and all of the members of the Just Transition Network, and being able to share sort of a capstone or a thumbprint of what the summit was and how it kind of went through so many different stories and people sharing their heartfelt, inspirational words. We worked with the university team out of UAF and the Chothieda campus, and we were able to put this piece together. It's about 10 minutes at this point, and this is the first screening, and so I want to really appreciate anyone's feedback or comments. And this will just be a little snapshot of what that conference was like that we were able to see through the camera eye. One nice thing about seeing it 2 years later is I think, gosh, everyone just looks, you're going to see yourself and you're going to be like, wow, I look so good, right? 2 years later. We've been through so much, and being able to have a little reflection of this is the offering tonight. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching.
essentially we're up against a major climate crisis. We're up against dwindling finite resources. And at the root of it all, we're up against colonial structures that have been instituted to make some people wealthy.
But this is a time to have a conversation about how to be adaptable and how to be loving and how to come from light instead of fear.
Each person's knowledge and expertise is an added value. We can sit together and talk these things through, as uncomfortable as they are, as Native people.
We have a lot of work to do in a lot of different areas. We have work to do in healing and rebuilding healthy relationships with each other, within our families, within our communities. And that work is essential to everything else coming together. We need healthy people, we need healthy leaders.
In this room, we don't have historic amnesia, and we don't have ecological amnesia. Some people, they have no recollection that there was a spring there or that there was wild rice there. And then some people remember that you used to be able to fish there. And so we are the people that are not going to forget that.
So the name of the summit is Coach Elne, and this is Benti Kanaga, and it means that we're remembering. We're remembering forward.
This concept of a just transition is not new. It's something that our people have already been practicing for millennia. And so it only makes sense for us to be integrating that, but to also be basing our plans moving forward off of that Indigenous knowledge, which is why the summit is called Remembering Forward. It's bringing in those voices and bringing in those knowledge systems of our ancestors, of our parents, into the present for our kids.
One of the ways that we maintain our wellness as Native people is by maintaining our lifestyle and providing for ourselves. Our ability to sustain our lifestyle has been one of the only reasons and the main drivers in our economy. I really hesitate to call it a subsistence economy because the word subsistence has a very specific definition. It means like a very low baseline, and that's not how we live.
Other areas include breaking down and understanding the systems that are at play surrounding us right now, the political and economic systems and institutions and how they affect our health and well-being.
Economy really means how do we manage home, and these places are home for us. So when we think about the economy, we're thinking about how do we make life work for people in places. MESA describes our work as helping to advance a just transition to a new economy. And I think from our perspective, the focus is less about trying to stop the old economy and more about trying to build the new economy. From our experience, the old economy is going to dismantle itself, and the new economy needs to be more diverse, sustainable, resilient, and equitable. The old economy was none of those things.
When we talk about climate activism, when we talk about social justice, when we talk about just transition, the lessons that we have to teach are lessons of love and lessons of well-being and relationship and respect. And they're lessons that must be shared for a just path into the future.
The thing is that there's not one solution.
Yeah.
There's not one strategy. Like lawyers will say, well, is this lawsuit? And I was like, but no, it's lawsuit and a social movement and political change, and it's and economic change. That's how you do it. What I'm saying is that you got to use all of those things because it's a complex. These problems are complex.
Visionary. We have to be totally visionary about how we do it because a lot of us only have experience with the oppressive forces.
So I knew I could respond with this piece of art, and so I wanted to show how much possibility there is in the universe.
We really try to help each other take off our blinders. We really try to help each other vision outside of the box
Like all these words are the parts of his body, actually, right? Bitsy, his tail, and Binde, his eyes. So she has all of this knowledge from the stars, and she's honoring the full moon. Did anyone look at the moon yesterday or this morning?
Once we do that, we know that we find that we have the solutions for our communities.
We're not going to figure out the answers, is what I'm saying, without help from our ancestors, without help from this other place, right?
Because an indigenous paradigm is not a Western paradigm. It's a totally different worldview, and it is often reflected in our art.
And then she has this baby, and that baby is like the seed, like this life that has yet to come, that's sprouting out.
But now we look at our young leaders who possess the vision to make decisions that will lead to those needed changes. Our young leaders possess the creativity, the ingenuity, the urgent desire, the responsibility to change our future and make the world a safe, compassionate, reasonable place for all the living beings with whom we coexist. Our young leaders are the future. Our young leaders are the answer. The next generation of leaders will help us remember our dreams.
But for us as Native people, what this means is we're returning to an understanding and an acceptance and a love of who we have always been. Despite the fact that there was so much done to actually turn us against ourselves, we are right-sizing the world again to what it means to be Indigenous, to love who we are, and to ensure that our children love who they are and can bring and deploy that strength into the world. Because, let's be honest, it needs it now more than ever.
I see the Arctic, it's the heartbeat of our Mother Earth. It's the organ that has been controlling the blood flow. The freezing and the thawing has controlled the thermophaline system of the ocean. Moving that fresh water and all those nutrients all over the earth. And so what we're doing up here from the heart to try to keep that heartbeat going strong and healthy and whole, that's a responsibility for all of us who live in the North.
In a circle, there are no sides.
Walking, walking so slow, trying to catch up with my mother. You know I can't catch her on a freight train. No, I can't catch her on an airplane. So I'm walking, walking, walking so slow, trying to catch up with my mother. She's so old.
Wow, that is powerful. Sitting here trying to control my breathing, and whew, it's amazing. I love seeing all of that movement and beautiful words by such beautiful people. Wow, I am, yeah, so looking forward with you, Kathy. Thank you, Maya, and all of the work that you and everyone at the University of Alaska Fairbanks that put that together. You worked so hard collecting all those interviews, footage, and putting that all together. And gosh, that is just a beautiful project, and happy to see that. I'm going to move on to reflections from the 2020 summit. About a second to sit in. So we're going to hear from some attendees from 2020 summit, hear a bit about their moments from the summit, what just transition may mean to them, and yeah, just anything that's carried them through the past 2 years. Just wanted to give a moment for to listen and hear from people from the 2020 summit. And today we have Carlin Ichuak and Eva Burke, and we'll start with Carlin. Carlin works as the organizational lead for the Alaska program, focusing on policy, science, and indigenous as a chart continuing upon the Wilderness Society's leading role in Alaska conservation by working closely with other Alaska conservation groups on protecting Alaska's public lands. With that introduction, I'll pass it over to Carlin.
Thank you, Gunnar, and good evening, everyone. Arigawa nareak ichuakak, akaga kora ichuakak asiapara Wilbur ichuakak utkayaravitmun. My name's Carlin Ichuak. My grandparents are Wilbur and Cora Ichuakak from Utqiagavik. And I'm the Alaska State Director for the Wilderness Society, and also have the pleasure of sitting on the board of directors for the Alaska Center. And I'm here in Anchorage on Dena'ina lands, and I use he, him pronouns. And I feel like I'm just trying to collect my thoughts after watching that amazing video. Maya, thanks for sharing that and putting it together. That was pretty spectacular. I wasn't really sure where to begin thinking as I reflected on our gathering 2 years ago. It was a pretty amazing gathering. All the dancing, singing, laughing, crying, sharing, the caring. It was like attending a family gathering. It was pretty amazing, and none of us, I think, really knew what was going to be happening after the Just Transition Summit. None of us were really prepared for what was really coming with the pandemic. And I think as I reflect, I'm just grateful for all of you that I met and connected with at the Just Transition Summit. It was like I was able to get one last gigantic group hug before hunkering down into this pandemic mode. And it's really been truly inspiring to watch many of you grow and succeed and become and be change agents during these challenging times, to watch many of you overcome the numerous challenges and barriers created by the pandemic. It's been inspiring to me and helps keep me going. All of you inspire me, you encourage me, you make me want to be a better person and to do better. Watching folks achieve their graduate degrees, PhDs, win Lifetime Achievement Awards, continue growing their families, continuing carrying on our traditions and cultures and language, and all the great work that all of you are doing despite the challenges of the last 2 years. From the summit itself, I work with so many of you on a weekly basis that it's been great to be able to keep in touch with many of you. But as I reflect back, a big impact on me was the presentation from Winona LaDuke. And she talked about the analogy of how a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly with the help of the imaginal cells or the imago cells in the caterpillar, and that it breaks down what it was and transforms into this new beautiful being. And she talked to us about that at length. And many of you are familiar with the work I'm doing at the Wilderness Society and know that Winona's speech at the Just Transition Summit inspired the name of our Indigenous-led conservation movement work to create land protection through an Indigenous worldview, what we now call the Imago Initiative. And I asked Winona if she would mind if we use that name for the initiative, and she said no, as long as you invite me to whatever comes out of it. So I can say with confidence, no Just Transition Summit, no Imago Initiative. So I think of the summit every day I go to work and work on the Imago Initiative. And I was thinking back about what's happened in the last 2 years since we all met. And I think one of the silver linings of what's happened with the pandemic, and if we can find one, and I know that everyone is impacted by this in different ways. We all know people who've been sick and who have struggled with this pandemic. But for me, from a Just Transition perspective, people are still driving less, putting less carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, reducing smog in larger cities, meaning the global disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic has brought several positive effects on the environment and the climate. Many of those effects we were dreaming about and talking about at the summit. Many of us are still working from home and have driven less in the past 2 years due to this global movement restriction and a significant slowdown of social and economic activities. Air quality has improved in many cities with a reduction in water pollution in different parts of the world. And studies have shown that the pandemic situation has significantly improved air quality in different cities across the world, reducing greenhouse gases emission, lessening water pollution and noise, reducing the pressure on tourist destinations, which may assist with the restoration of the colonial and ecological system. In addition, there are also some negative consequences of COVID-19. Sorry, my daughter's friend is calling her. So we're seeing increased medical waste, haphazard use of disposal of disinfectants, masks and gloves, and the burden of untreated waste continuously endangering the environment. But in general, the environment has been healing in the past 2 years. And with this movement and with all of us working for Just Transition, I think even though pre-COVID economic activities will soon return after the pandemic and the situation may change, when we begin to emerge from this global pandemic, we'll be at a crossroads. Do we embrace the current transition to decouple off of fossil fuels and continue to improve the environment? Or do we go back to our old ways? And I know all of us are on the same page with let's not go back to our old ways. And continuing to work together to capitalize on these short-term improvements to our planet's health in order to achieve long-term environmental benefits, we can achieve just transition for the next 7 generations. And we can do this, as was mentioned earlier in the video, with love and compassion for each other and for Mother Nature. So Kuyanakpak for this opportunity to reflect, and thank you for all the great work that you're all doing. Hang in there, don't give up, and stay safe. Kuyanakpak.
Ayana, thank you. I love that one last big group hug of the Just Transition. I love that so much. Yeah, that makes so much sense that just fits the vibe in my brain. And I didn't know that about the Imago Initiative. I heard where it came from, but I didn't know that came from the Just Transition Summit. These are just like blowing my mind. And all this work of, yeah, building the new with love and compassion. Wise words. Thank you. And transition over to Eva Burke. Eva's Athabascan from Nenana and Manly Hot Springs along the Tanana River on the lands of the lower Tanana Dene. She's about to complete her Master's of Science in Natural Resources and Environment and is a graduate research assistant at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, owner of Rock Crossing Consulting and a mother of 4. Eva works in healing through food and culture, hosting traditional gatherings to strengthen community relationships, connecting place, and revitalizing local food systems. I will pass the mic over to Eva.
Hi, Duenda. Dan Nazoon. Ibdam Burke Suuzra, Tagatili, To'o and Nolal, Dana Katana Eslana, Ina Joy Burke Uzra, Ta'a Dim Burke Uzra, Setsu Lina Olin, Elvie Burke, Didio, Setsia Billy Burke Didio. I am Eva Dawn. I'm from Nenana and Manly Hot Springs. I grew up along the Tanana River, a very traditional subsistence lifestyle, even though that word subsistence, was mentioned before in the video. I really appreciate that. What struck me the most was at the Just Transition. This was a time in my life that I was transforming. It was right before my second semester in graduate school, and I had been on a long break raising the 4 kids and transitioning from an engineering career in oil and gas, and really looking at some of the things that were going on around the world at the time. And I was really excited to go there. And there was a couple of things. I remember one of the chiefs saying, "I'm the only chief here." And then I remember the open conversations about many of us talking about how to go home, and that it's really hard to get involved with the leadership in our communities, which are tribal councils and village corporations. Politics, we all know, it's up and down. It's all over the place. But another thing that stood out was this was at a time that it was early on in my advocacy, and I was sitting by Luke Titus, and he told me, "I never hear you speak. I want to hear you speak." And I swear, ever since then, I haven't shut up. I've been given so many presentations about healing through food and culture, connecting back to the land, living your traditional lifestyle and living your values. So that summer, 2020, I built a fish wheel, and I gave Luke Titus my first salmon that I caught with that wheel. So that was like these connections were being made. And then I was just working in agriculture, and my work shifted into really just like all foods and just, advocacy for everything, and really being involved with Native movement and feeling like a very strong sisterhood, really. We've held each other up these past couple of years through a number of ways. We actually are like doing the Just Transition work. A few of us, we opened small businesses. We are working together on doing Alaska Native Farmer Training Program. I'm doing that in partnership with Denali Hodgson, who's actually pictured right there on the bottom with On the Land Media. So that's one of our projects. I took the Alaska Native filmmaking class with Maya. That was wonderful. Let's see, what else did we do? And then the work with Louise and Naomi Michelson, we formed the Kayani Sisters and held a traditional food and plant symposium in Ketchikan this year. So, you know, it's just been like this path of, like our elders say, you know, everything's meant to be. You're put in these places and connect to these people at just the right time in life, right? And so it's been really awesome that a lot of the people that I met there, I'm still working with today. And we hold each other up, and like we even are doing stuff like hide tanning. So, you know, and then when you're doing these traditional activities, there's so much healing that takes place. And there's also this connection to your ancestors and your spirit of your hands doing the work, the motions, and the connection. Like, oh, you know, you are your ancestors in your hands, in your words, in your heart. And I just thank you for allowing me to share today, and just grateful to keep doing this good work, and lucky to have held a few in-person meetings this year. My daughter actually has COVID right now, so you know, just can't know, but she's doing good. So that's all that matters. Bye, see.
Wow, hoping for swift healing and wellness for your daughter. You are your ancestors in those moments. Wow, that hits. That hits. I feel that. I love when those moments, you know, when you're at a pivotal moment in your life and there's something that happens that it just feels like so right on the money, that just, when all of that comes together, that's such a beautiful, I'm happy that this was it. That's really great. Oh, I love hearing, love hearing from everybody. Everyone's just dropping such good knowledge, and it's just so good. And I want to give people a moment to share themselves. We'll have an opportunity for breakout rooms as sort of our next activity here. I also understand people are listening on, and there's been so much hitting people, so I totally get not wanting to be in a space of sharing as we move into breakout rooms. We'll have 4 of them. We'll also have a main room. If you aren't looking to drop into one of these, feel free to stay for 15 minutes quiet reflection. If you've ever used a Jamboard, maybe we could get that linked in the chat, and that could be shared on the screen when we move into breakout rooms, and we'll all work on ours too. What we're trying to get here is to hear from people with their experiences. If you didn't have a chance to speak, maybe you have a chance in these rooms. As we start to go into the breakout rooms, have a chance to talk. It's a smaller group than we were expecting, so hopefully we'll have some good discussion, and we'll have some questions on those depending on the room. We'll have 4 of them. We'll have ecological restoration, environmental justice, and I'll be facilitating that, mostly just there to lead conversation. We'll have Indigenous sovereignty with Margaret. We'll have workers' rights and unions with Kyla, and artists for a just transition with Kavahine. And then if you want to not join one, feel free to stay in the main room and have some minutes to yourselves. There will be a Jamboard that you can click in some of those notes if you've ever used a Jamboard. If not, feel free to use the chat function, and you can just throw things in the chat, and the facilitators could help put those into the Jamboard themselves. With that, let's move into those. And you could self-assign one that you feel like going into. And I will start by jumping into mine. Thanks, everybody. And these will be 15 minutes. All right, I think we're all back. I think, sounds like it, looks like it. I want to give a moment. I'll pause for a second and hear if anyone wants to talk about a favorite moment or share something that they're looking forward to for the 2022 summit. And then after that, I'll talk a little bit about what we're planning and a little survey to hear back. But I'll give a moment if people want to speak about experiences themselves. Okay, I will hop in and share a bit about a survey that we're doing, and I'll talk through it. And it's, I think, 5 questions. Maybe it's short. It's very short. And then we can close from here. And maybe Glow, if you could put that on, link that would be helpful. The survey, what we're asking is we're trying to get a little bit of feedback and direction for where we're going, what people want to see. I've gotten so much information from this, and it's just such a beautiful community. This event has been amazing, so I want to thank everyone for that. But what we're looking to get is just some questions, what people are excited about, what people, what stuck with them from 2020. And then a bit about different ways that we could do a summit. I mean, the pandemic is still real, it's still alive. And that was a concern. We were looking to have our summit in May, our 22 summit in May, and that's gonna have to be postponed a bit. So we had some options, and I will share those with you now. And then if people could fill out and let us know which ones you like from the summit or from the survey, or if you want to contact any of us, like, that would be great. If you want to help with planning the summit, that's in there too, if you could let us know in the survey. And it'll also be emailed to you. It'll be emailed to all the people who registered for this event. So just some options that are on my brain right now and all of our brains as we're planning it, the people that are looking to plan the summit for next year that are working on it now. We're looking at maybe fall for an in-person if that is safe and that seems like we could do it in a good way, thinking about this fall. Another option would be postponing it to the winter. We heard a lot of people talking about how cold it was and thinking maybe summer would be a better time for a summit. So that's an option, is postponing it to the winter or fall. Another one is an idea that I've been sort of rattling around in my brain of having a way that we can meet, because we are hungry for community. That's been shown today. So I was thinking of something that I've been kind of calling a communities-based summit, where we can have people identify as local leaders and create pods around the state in your community. And we can have this summit that is community-based with this hybrid sort of virtual kind of overarching theme of this virtual summit, but with communities being able to meet in community and host these events as a Fairbanks pod and an Anchorage pod, Ketchikan, and all across the state, that people could do it that way as a way to minimize risk. So just thinking of ways that we can continue this work. And movement is growing and moving quicker and quicker as we start really hunkering down and building this and building the new. And I want to keep that momentum moving. And so we're just trying to think of ways that could happen. So that's part of the survey. And if you want to be a part of planning the summit and being involved in that, or being a part of working with it, if that's logistical help, or if you have art that you want to put on those walls, like what was in the 2020 summit and things like that. There's ways that you can give us your contact information and we can work with you that way. Or if there's anything else you want to let us know, that's in there as well. And it's anonymous, so don't worry about that. Those will be going out. And with that, I would like to close this event and thank everyone so much for being here. What an amazing, amazing event. And I wish everyone a good rest of your evening. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you, everybody. That was beautiful.
Inside or outside of you. Think of all the places home can be.
Good to see everyone. Thank you.
Oh, what song can I sing to a cedar away from all that they knew by going out beyond their